I was always good with the self-discipline. I was always good, and I'll tell you how, with keeping myself on track, but I wouldn't stay relaxed and calm. And as soon as I unlocked that part about getting myself calmer and not overthinking, I was able to see the, uptick.
Welcome to the Living in the Zone podcast. I'm your host, ZoneCoach Jim Fannin. I've coached champions in life, business, and sports for 50 years with a proprietary thought management system that I discovered called SCORE. Every guest on this show has been in what we call a zone state, a purposeful, calm feeling where nothing can go wrong, and you're performing at your highest level. Let's dive into the world of branding with our guest, Kimberley Grayson, a marketing and merchandising expert. With leadership roles at Gap, Ulta Beauty, and Bloomingdale's, Kimberley has mastered the art of building brands and connecting with consumers. Discover her secrets to scaling your brand and telling captivating stories that resonate with the audience. It's all right here on Living in the Zone. Kimberley, welcome to Living in the Zone. I've been so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I've known you for over a decade, and I've known you as someone that wears many hats, but in terms of professional, you have your finger on the pulse of marketing. I mean, you've been a branding chief marketing officer, a merchandising officer. You've been in the food industry, but you've helped market some pretty iconic brands. Gap, Ulta. I think my wife spent money at Ulta. Bloomingdale's. I mean, you've been involved with some really big brands, but somebody that's been in marketing for 30 years, what a difference a day makes, much less 30 years. How is marketing a product or a service, how has that changed in the last 5 years?
Oh my gosh, even in every year that goes by, I see so much change. And I think the change comes from some of the platforms, right? I mean, we think back a number of years ago, social media not only wasn't even much on the horizon, but it certainly wasn't the way that you could reach the masses that you could with something like broadcast, right? We all thought about going for a Super Bowl ad was the way to reach the largest audience. And now you have some YouTubers who are reaching the same size audience with each and every video that they're putting out there, which is staggering. Right?
Without an advertiser paying $2 million for a 30-second spot or whatever.
Exactly. And having it live on, right? So you would pay that kind of money for a 30-second spot and it would be gone. Now there's these streaming services that keep these videos alive. So if you're part of the advertising, you're coming back up time and time again. So I think that we're seeing different reaching platforms, and we're certainly seeing a lot more measurement and a lot more requirement for measurement. Used to be that it was about creating these unbelievably creative and interesting breakthrough messages, but how much measurement was there? And now we really can, should, and are required to measure everything.
Now, you've not only been a brand manager and a merchandising officer, but you've also been on QVC. Now, that's a different form of marketing.
Yes.
You can, would you like to buy a red cup?
Yes.
You can see it and kind of talk about it. Tell me about how it's even transitioning away from is QVC still the place to go for a lot of things, or is streaming taking that over?
Well, I think that even somebody like QVC has thought about how to add that to their suite of services, right? I think we recognize some audiences are still turning on their television, still attaching it to a cable, but many have cut the cord and many are finding different streaming platforms to get their content. So it would be not right for any of these companies to just rest their laurels, rest their hat on where they have been in the past and not think about where the industry is going. So QVC is still a medium for sending out messages that I think let you demonstrate. Right? You think about those products, and when you find them on a shelf or you find them in a magazine, they can't demonstrate themselves. The beautiful written word can do a lot, but it can't fully show you when you open the package, when you talk to somebody else about the values and benefits, and you get that emotional response. So QVC has.
And you have the ticker that says more sold. I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody wants this. I need only 50 left. Or
yes, it creates
really
that sense of urgency, right? So you not only fall in love with something, but you feel compelled to get it now, which is critically important for brands' ability to move their merchandise, be able to restock their merchandise, to get that immediacy of response and understand where those sales are really coming from.
Now, you mentioned messaging multiple times already on the show. Today with AI, a non-marketer can all of a sudden look like they're a big time marketer with AI and lead generation and writing copy. And is the industry that you've been with, the industries, is AI prevalent in everything now?
It is. And I think that we have to find its right balance. I'll give you for instance, if I go back 2 decades ago, I remember there being talk about malls going away. Right? They just wouldn't exist in the landscape. Everything was going to go online. Maybe you were going to go into strip centers and small independent boutiques, but malls were going away. And I think we've seen how they've changed and how important they are in the real estate portfolios, but they haven't gone away. And I think of AI as the same. I think if we look at it as this additive to our business, a way to do things faster, more efficiently, of another level, possibly with smaller teams or not having everybody on our staff, then I think it just takes everything up a notch. I don't think it replaces everything, just like I don't think Amazon replaced every way of purchasing products that people were concerned about. But boy, did you have to think about it as a huge competitor and not ignore the elephant in the room. And I think it's the same with AI. I just think it's an amazing tool that we all have at our fingertips now to make us all that much more efficient.
So put your visionary hat on. You've seen how things have been. You've seen the crazy changes, and you've been right on the forefront of making those changes. And you consult on how other people can make the changes they need to market, distribute, sell their product. What do you see in the future? Where do you think marketing of products, services is going to be in 5 years from now?
Great question. So first, I'd say you have to go back to the basics. Before you look forward, I want to make sure that whatever is coming down the pipeline, people don't forget the key tenets of marketing. First, know your product. Second, know your audience, right? And then find your marketing tactics that work to properly convey your product, because context as well as content, I think, are key. And then you need to know that you're reaching the people who are optimized for what you have to sell, whether it be a service or a product. And so you can go for the latest flashy and trendy direction, but is that where your audience is, right? And also don't make any assumptions that your audience isn't somewhere just because they weren't there last year or the year before. Things are moving really, really quickly. And I'll take TikTok for an example. It was assumed for a long time that it was a certain demographic and audience, but it's expanded so much, not only because of more people going to TikTok, but because of TikToks spreading to more platforms. You now can find people sharing TikToks on Instagram. So even if you've never been somebody who's gone on to and created your own TikTok, those TikTok videos and those reels are being shared to other platforms. So I just think it's keep an open mind, keep educated, know everything that's coming down the pipeline, and make sure that you're factoring it all into the mix, knowing your brand, knowing your audience.
A small business can really learn a lot from this. And, with cameras in the store, they know, let's say they know my name,
Yeah.
Jim, come on in, welcome. And now they're showing me, here's your size, and
Mm-hmm.
here, and oh, and we could maybe determine your size
Yes,
from analytics, because I know there's sites that do that.
totally.
Do you think physically,
Mm.
on a virtual level, going into individual stores, do you foresee that happening?
Well, I think that it's important that we take the specifics that we can gain through the analytics and utilize it, right? I don't want it to replace that personalization that could change up the experience by something that you observe, right? So if I know that Jim is coming into my store, you have been a client, I know you've made certain purchases, I know other people who have made similar purchases also like these other items, I should know that. I should factor that in. But I shouldn't lose sight of when you walk into the store that day, you tell me something that changes that direction, right? So it's how do you incorporate? I may think of you as the businessman. I may think of you as the button-down shirt guy because it's all you've ever bought from me. And so now I'm going to show you.
Party on the weekends.
Well,
I need
right.
party clothes.
There we go. And now you've told me that. You've walked in and you've talked about a party that you're going to with your wife that weekend. I shouldn't ignore that information. So that's
Yeah.
where I think this mechanic learning and this ability to get all of these insights into something that's really actionable is critical. I'll go back for a second, Jim. One of my companies that I worked with and built out called Abe's Market was an online natural food and organics marketplace that we built in a lot of intelligent learning because we put all of these different categories, but ways that you could path the store, if you will, a virtual store your own way. So you tell me you are gluten-free, you like to buy sustainable products, you like to buy from women-owned companies, you like to buy items that are low in sodium, right? Now you say to yourself, how could I find that in a store? People have to pick what aisle you're going to find that in, right? Is it in the gluten-free aisle or is it in the low sodium aisle? So by you making designations, as well as me following what you've looked at, we can start to create a very custom path for you.
So Abe knows what I like to eat, when I like to eat it, how much I eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Abe knows. Abe's inside my kitchen, inside my dining room.
Yeah. Now it's important that at the same time I serve you up what I know if you have allergies, right? I need to make sure that I don't serve you up something you're allergic to. But I also have to recognize you may have picked that you're going on a keto-friendly diet. But the reality is you may not be on a keto-friendly diet in 6 months or next year. So if I keep serving you up that same information time and time again, and I don't recognize that mixed in with, let's call it an 80-20 rule, 80% highly relevant to you, but 20% that's a little bit of, maybe I'm buying for someone else in household. Maybe my habits are changing. Maybe something else is going to pique my interest. So you find a way to work that in so that you never lose sight of this person evolving and changing, which we all do.
Kimberly, you're a plethora of knowledge in the industry and how it's evolving, how it's changing almost every single day. How do you stay disciplined? Because I want to put this in perspective. You're much more than a businesswoman. You're much more than an industry marketing leader. You're a mom of 2 kids.
I am.
You're a wife.
Yes.
You have a social life. You have friends that you network with. You manage a house. And you've also helped a husband who I know well, Rob, who's awesome. But you've gone through his industry changes because you both work.
Yeah.
How did you do all that? What self-discipline mind hacks have you used to keep all these in perspective?
Well, you've taught me so much, Jim. So first, thank you. All our conversations, you've always given me little nuggets and little things to think about. And when I think about your score system, the one that was the hardest for me to kind of get my head around, but I think I've gotten so much better at it, was the relaxation part. I was always good with the self-discipline. I was always good, and I'll tell you how, with keeping myself on track, but I wouldn't stay relaxed and calm. And as soon as I unlocked that part about getting myself calmer and not overthinking, I was able to see the, uptick of how I was using all of my other, habits, if you will. So for me, discipline is starting with a really good mindset in the morning. One of the things I do, and I've done for some time, is I start with a very small creative endeavor every morning that just releases and gets my juices flowing. So for me, I have a creative writing journal, and I just open it up, and I have no requirements. It doesn't have to be poetry or prose or anything of any nature. It just has to be something that comes from my mind to the pen, and I get it out in the first 10 minutes of the morning.
You know what I love about that? One of the first times I met you over a decade ago in Illinois, Hinsdale. Actually, I think it was in your kitchen. The whole family.
Good memory. Yes.
I can't go back. But I recognized you as an unusual thinker that you can use the right brain and the left brain simultaneously.
Thank you.
So what you're telling me is, I am disciplined. I've got this creative side to me that has to get out, and it can get stifled with creativity with too much discipline, where you're almost anal and you don't want to make a mistake. You want everything perfect. But to start off the day with a creative imagination, I love that. And everybody watching and listening, put that down in something you may want to add in your life. A creative journal where you're really thinking up above your life and what you want to do in the future. How'd you manage raising teenagers? Because two people that work, someone that's as disciplined as you, as busy as you, that have so much going on, how do you have to find time for teenagers? I know they're not teenagers anymore.
Yeah.
That's a rough time for all of us parents. We've gone through the teenage years. You through it.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on? We were probably like that, mentally nuts, with the How did you manage that?
Well, I think I never tried to look at balance as being a balance every single day. I looked at balance in a bigger picture, and I said, okay, there's going to be some weeks where it's going to be very skewed to my kids. Some weeks it's going to be more skewed to my work. Some weeks I'm going to find time for my friends. But I never sought a perfect balance because I don't think it exists. And if I looked at balance in a much bigger sense, and I said, okay, if I can look at my life as balanced, maybe this week wasn't, then I never felt like I was out of balance, if you will. And it made me keep calmer, keep more relaxed, right?
One of the main tenets of the score system, really, because I'm with you. Life balance, people talk about, are you all nuts? Have you ever had a life?
Yeah.
I mean, but the one thing we can balance is our thoughts.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And we balance those as we move from different arenas to arenas. We're never going to have the same quantity of thoughts in one arena as we have in another, or the same quality of thoughts as we have in one or the other.
Yeah.
But as long as we can stay positive, and that's something you've done. I've talked to you many times, met with you many times. I've never met you where you didn't have a big smile on your face and light up the room.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
How did that evolve? Were you like that as a kid?
I don't think so. I mean, I look back at pictures of myself and I think I have a scowl on my face more times than not. I always look like I'm really ticked off at somebody. But I really think back to it. I think one of the things that I was blessed to grow up with was parents who really believed in me, almost to a fault, right? There were times that they just, that's it. You're Kim. You can do it. Right? You are capable of anything you want to. So while I had my natural, what kids go through and what teenagers go through and got a little, ticked off at the world possibly, I realized I had that deeply in me, which was just this, you can do anything coming from my parents. And I walked confidently into the world. I think the smile comes from life is beautiful. Life is to be enjoyed. I went to a concert last night and it was this artist, Passenger. And life is for the living, or you might as well be dead. That's a song. I'm like, that's it, right?
Love it. Let's put that on the
life is for the living. And
that's
right. That's the way I look at it. I really do find things to smile about all the time. They're
Well,
there. It's just
the
whether or
other,
not you look for them.
the other thing, you're a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing about you. I think if you're constantly learning, you're never losing.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning about how you can be better.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we met, you had contacted me regarding your son. And you said something very profound to me at that time. I love him unconditionally. I know his talent is immense.
Mm-hmm.
He's having some challenges getting in the swing of things of a new environment and a
Mm-hmm.
new school.
Yeah.
Uh, can you help him?
Mm-hmm.
You gave me no guardrails, parameters.
Mm-hmm.
You trusted your son. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much. You trusted me, and I'm
Of
humbled
course.
always by that. But your son, when when I started talking to him, he was ready to take over the world
Mm-hmm.
in a used tennis shoe business.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I remember, and I was like, "This kid's a genius." I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he was making money trading shoes,
Mm-hmm.
selling. He had so many ideas, and I know that the challenge was a lot of people that he was going to school with,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't that mature.
Yeah.
When a lot of people may have thought he was immature, but he was ahead of a lot of people.
Good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at his immense talent. He did have the ability to focus, although that was a challenge at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
if he loved it,
Yeah.
if he loved
Oh
it,
yeah. All in, deep. Mm-hmm.
all in. I mean, cannonball into the
Mm-hmm.
abyss. He
Yes.
was all in.
True.
And after that, he went on a personal journey,
Mm-hmm.
thrilled me.
Mm.
Tell me about that because
Yeah.
when I say journey, I'm talking Patagonia.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm talking a trek.
Oh yes.
Tell me how that transition happened.
Oh, a lot of kids, I think adults too, we follow a path that seems like the one we're supposed to follow, right? You graduate high school, and if you're a college bound person, you then go on to college. Maybe take a little, summer foray and you do something, but that's the path. And that appeared to be his path. Applied to his schools, was accepted into a number of schools, and we were all set. Until he came to us and said he really felt he could benefit from taking some time in a gap year. And we said to him, okay, just tell us what that looks like. Gap year isn't just sitting around. What does that look like? And he needed he needed to come to us with a plan. And what he told us, craziest words I've ever heard in my life, I want enlightenment through isolation. What? You're 18. What? You're 18 years old. What do you know from enlightenment through isolation? Well, he went to the farthest reaches of Patagonia on the most amazing adventure, challenged himself.
Southernmost part of South America is close to Antarctica as anywhere else.
It's it. So there's the Argentinian side, there's the Chile side. He went down through Chile and actually was sea kayaking down close to Antarctica. He was hiking across ice fields. He was living in tents that some days the windstorms were so outrageous you had to stay in the tent and lean against the poles because otherwise your tent would collapse and you'd have nowhere to live in these treacherous conditions for the remainder of your time. So he spent months down there, became an avid reader. This was someone who read the books he needed to read to do his work in high school and to do well as a student, but never somebody who really loved reading, became an avid reader. And
he had a thirst for knowledge.
He did.
Really
Absolutely did. And I think he really came to know himself. He came to know his limits. He came to know what his strengths were. He also came to know what his weaknesses were. And he came home very aware of them and very vocal about them and very able to talk about, I know what I'm not good at. I know what challenges me, as well as seeing what he is good at and what he.
There's 60-year-old people that don't know that, much less than 18 or 19.
What a beautiful combination. And to see him come home and say, so many people would say to him, well, welcome back to the real world. And he said, this isn't the real world, right? The idea that just suburban life is the real world. So I think he got a broader sense of people, of life, of place. And he really jump-started a new phase of his life, went on to college, went on now to, he's very successful in his career, and he continues to do some pretty amazing things in this world. So he's one I'm super proud of.
Now, as a mom, you have two kids.
Yeah.
They're out of the same womb, same parents, and they're totally different.
Totally different. Yes. So my daughter, Allie, she is 24 years old, lives in Manhattan. So Tyler now is in Brooklyn. He's a New York as well, right? Mama got lucky, got them both back here. And she works also in the advertising industry on the media side, but she is my talker. She is my win people over with her wit and her charm combination. She's really a people person through and through. And she is just
acorns
amazing.
Don't fall far from the tree. I mean, they don't.
So we're very fortunate. We have two adult children, Rob and I, who are just people that we adore. You love your kids, but we really like our children. Really cool people. Very fortunate.
How do you maintain a high level of confidence and belief and expectancy in each of these arenas in a day? You can be confident in a marketing program you have.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a flat tire in the daughter arena. I got to put some air in the tire and help her out. But all of those demands on working moms have a tendency for moms not to take care of themselves because you're taking care of your daughter and your son, and not that Rob needs taken care of, but Rob needs taken care of too. And and there's a house, and then there's moving a house. You've moved multiple houses. What about Kimberly? What do you do to unplug and take off all the hats and just put on the me hat? I love me day, so I can love you all more day. What do you do?
So one thing I've learned about myself, other people have kind of said it, not in these words, but they've said it to me, and I've recognized about myself. I'm my happiest and my most calm when I'm productive. So there are some people who the way that they get themselves into their Zen state is by sitting and doing nothing. For me, I'm in that state by doing. So I think that helps me be able to do many things because it really does soothe me as well as I get a lot done. So that's one thing. But when it does come to those things that are those calming, I learned something really interesting. I recently went on a wellness retreat, and I had this unbelievable meditation instructor who said, look for micro moments of meditation. Micro moments, right? I love this. So he said, whether it's you're in the shower and you just tilt your head forward and you let the hot water get on the back of your neck, and for 60 seconds, you take yourself into a meditative state. If you do enough of those throughout the day, they add up, right? So don't feel...
That parlays right into our 90-second rule. I believe that you can change your discipline, your focus, your confidence, your relaxation, your enjoyment within 90 seconds.
Yeah.
You got to be aware. We're all awake. We're not all aware.
Right.
Obviously, in a shower, you're alone. That's probably where a lot of creativity comes as well. But I agree. I like the micro meditation, the 90 seconds or less, 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Take it where you can, right? Because sometimes it's hard to find that 30-minute chunk. And it also feels, you can get a little stressed out. If it's something you're new to and you're trying to find 30 minutes to do something that doesn't come naturally versus let it build. But I will say the other way that I get my mental state on is sometimes through physical change. So I've started cold plunging. Love a cold plunge. And I actually started right out here. I told you outside my home office is the water. And so I go out into the Long Island Sound throughout the winter and I cold plunge. And it makes a huge difference. What it does for me is it's the first that you can do hard things, right? So just getting your body into that cold water, which feels not easy. And when you do it, 1, you've accomplished. 2, it takes the energy in your body and it concentrates it to your core, because what it's trying to do is your body is trying to protect your heart and all your organs. So all the blood flows in. And I find as soon as all that blood flows in, I get this unbelievable rush going on, which is amazing. And it just shoots up mentally and I feel more alert. the clarity, metabolism speeds up, does all these good things for me. So,
well, I love that. I know cold plunge has swept through the professional ranks in baseball and NFL and
yeah.
tennis and golf and pretty much everything. I agree. When you dip in for a plunge, is this a 90-second plunge? Is it a 3-minute plunge? What is there a time limit, or if it's too cold, you get out?
So, I don't set myself a time limit. I don't consider it to be a success unless I go more than a certain amount of time, but it depends on the temperature. So if I'm plunging and it's more in the 50s, it's a 5-minute. If I'm plunging and it's down in the 30s or 40s, I'm probably 90 seconds to 3 minutes. Yeah.
So you have a life blueprint of what you want in your life. I know you have that. Your son had that as well. Rob has that. What do you all do family-wise, and how tough is it? Got a kid in Brooklyn, got a kid in Manhattan, you're out on Long Island, but everybody's busy. Close proximity geographically. Do you still have time to have family gatherings? And how many times do you meet? Is there any rule to that?
So we meet with frequency because it's a priority to all of us. And I'm fortunate for that, right? Because you have to make it a priority. It's not always easy. But one, having a home that they enjoy coming to. And I made sure, even though we've had times we've downsized as a family, we said we need to have enough space that everybody can gather, because gathering is important to us. And then really, we like to join our kids' lives as well as have them come and quote unquote join ours. So if I'll get a call and it might be 2:00 in the afternoon and it's one of my kids asking if I want to have dinner with them in the city, my answer is yes. Unless I have something else going on, my answer is yes, because it's a priority. And I love that they reach out, that they want to. So I think that the key to having the connection and making those times to be together is saying yes when opportunities arise.
If you could rate your enjoyment level on a 1 to 10 on a regular basis, where would you put your enjoyment level of enjoying this journey in life?
Oh my gosh. I'd say it's from a 9 to an 11. I really do. I mean,
I love it. I love that about you.
Yeah, there are times when, it dips below the 10. And sure, I'll have moments, but I think I have micro moments of disappointment or not feeling satisfied with my life.
You have micro meditation moments to offset it.
Exactly. So there's micro moments of it, but I think I constantly come back to, there's a saying that I have. There are some people who put their arms up when something happens and they react a certain way and they say, I'm only human. My reaction is, I'm human. For me, that's my superpower. That's my ability to take myself mentally out of bad situations. It's my ability to not get overly stressed when something could otherwise be stressful. And I'm not perfect. Believe me, I've gotten better about things over years because I've intentionally tried hard to do it. But I think it's recognizing that as humans, human is your superpower. And, I look at the people that you surround yourself with and that you coach, and I look at what they're capable of. They're human, right? And I'm saying to myself, you have to put yourself in the right mental state to get there. But my goodness, these aren't robots. And look at what some of these athletes have accolished. Look at what these...
It's really how you react to negative things and you respond to... Because let's face it, everything's changing. Life is changing. It's not going to wait on us. We can sit on the couch, get up and move. It's changing, and I've never seen it change so fast. I've got skid marks on my tennis shoes. I'm like, whoa. I know there's an end game, but what's the rush and the hurry? Because there is an end game.
Yes.
Kimberley, you are an official Zoniac, and
I like it.
And that's just someone that can put on that purposeful, calm feeling that nothing can go wrong at the right time, and can manage their life, a complex life, an ever-changing life, in the most simple way. And I just love talking to you because I get fired up. I hang up with you and I'm like, I got to go do something.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
What would you tell your younger 18-year-old self? Go back to 18. If you could go back and say, hey, I got a couple of tips here. Maybe you could fast circuit some things. What would you tell her?
Trust your gut. It knows. I think that there were times when, even when I was feeling confident, I had my times when I didn't feel confident. I had my times I felt confident. But even when I felt confident, I saw so many people around me, because 18-year-olds aren't supposed to be that confident yet, that I would say, maybe I'm not supposed to feel so good about this. Maybe it's not as well received as I think it is. And I needed to go back and trust my gut more and recognize that when something felt not right, it probably wasn't right. But when something felt good, it was good. Don't second guess it.
I love that. I've learned in a half a century of coaching, intuition's real-time information that your conscious mind just doesn't have. You can analyze it and walk around it, but you better listen to your gut just in case you miss something. And moms do this really well. I think if moms were ruling the world, I think the world would be a better place. But this is for all moms listening. Listen to your gut, because your intuition as a mom is off the chain. You all are amazing. But do you listen to it in every aspect of your life? I think that's the message to anybody watching or listening, and you've done that. You have a blessed life. I'm looking forward to maybe doing a deep plunge.
I like it.
And I'm going to go for it. Anything that you would like to guide us to, your website, or what's going on with you?
Yeah.
How do people contact you? Maybe they want to start their business, or maybe they have a challenge in their business from a marketing perspective.
Yes. So it's my name, Kimberley Grayson. .com is my website, and just don't forget the E in Kimberley. Not that I ever mind if someone spells it wrong, but just to get to the website, it's Kimberley with an E, the way my parents gave me the name, and that'll take you to my website where you can see past online and broadcast segments, really just talking about brands, and get some more insights as to what I offer as a marketing consult and what I can do to help brands understand their path, their journey, and find their optimized audiences.
Well, people that are in the podcast, it's Kimberley, and Grayson, GRAYSON.com. Check out and follow Kimberley. You're going to learn a lot, as I do every time I talk to you. Say hello to all your kids.
Oh,
Say hello
I will.
Rob, because I know he's doing some big things. I would love to have him on the show. I think he's doing some speaking now more.
Yes.
No, well, he's going to be good at it. He is good at it. And thank you so much for being on the show, Kimberley.
Thank you, Jim. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to learn from you. And just like you said, over a decade. So I feel very blessed. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening to Living in the Zone podcast. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be up to date on all of our information and content. Go to ZoneCoach.com, where you're going to learn more on how we can help you live your life, business, or sport in the zone.